Today, edging towards the cliff. Hello again, it's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Welcome to our latest post covering finance and property news with a distinctively Australian flavour. Earlier on today, we discussed the market moves in the US following the Fed rate rise. But now we need to look at the local market here, and frankly, there's been carnage on the local market. And by the way, please do consider supporting our efforts to continue to make great content. You can help us via Patreon, here is the link, or by making a one-off donation via PayPal, and here is the link for that. Just before we get to the markets, two pieces of additional news which will be quite important. Firstly, the employment data came out today, and the ABS reported that the trend unemployment rate fell from 5.2% to 5.1%, whereas the seasonally adjusted rate went from 5.0 to 5.1%. But if you look at the data, the trend participation rate increased slightly to 65.7% in November, which was 0.2% higher than in November 2017. And the female participation rate rose to 60.5%, and the male participation rate rose to 71%. So what's actually happening is there are more people seeking work than jobs created. So overall, not a particularly worrisome result. The other piece of news that came out today was from S&P Global Ratings, reporting on their mortgage-backed securities using the SPIN index. The total SPIN index rose to 1.35%. In other words, mortgage arrears are going up, which is unusual at this time of year. The trend was consistent in pretty much all states other than Tasmania, where arrears fell to 1.14% in October from 1.26% the previous month. New South Wales recorded the largest increase in arrears in October, 0.12% from 1.04% a month earlier, and arrears in New South Wales have been gradually rising throughout 2018, but still remain the second lowest in the country behind the ACT. Western Australia remains the highest risk state. No surprise, given the flat economy and many years of sliding home prices. And it's also worth noting that both investor and owner-occupied arrears increased in October. Investor arrears increased to 1.25% from 1.19% in September, and owner-occupier arrears rose to 1.54% from 1.52% a month earlier. And finally, arrears rose at the major and regional banks. They were offset by a small fall in the non-bank financial institutions. The S&P ASX 100 fell 1.23% today to 4,541. And the local volatility index, the VIX, rose 16.96% to 20.59, and that is pretty much as high as we've seen in recent times. So there is a huge amount of uncertainty in the marketplace. The financials index, the ASX 200 financials, fell 1.05% to 5,367. If we then look at the individual players, Bendigo and Adelaide Bank fell 1.35% to 10.26. Suncorp fell 1.07% to 12.92. The Bank of Queensland fell 0.53% to 9.42. Macquarie Group fell 2.38% to 107.29. And then amongst the majors, Westpac fell 1.07% to 24.07. ANZ fell 1.63% to 23.55. National Australia Bank fell 0.99% to 23.09. They, of course, received a massive no vote yesterday in the annual general meeting relating to executive remuneration, alongside similar votes at the ANZ and Westpac. And this, of course, highlights the fact that many shareholders are pretty dischuffed with the poor performance of the banks. Doesn't necessarily mean that they are on the side of consumers, by the way, but of course they're not getting the dividends they used to. Commonwealth Bank fell 0.69% to 68.92. The AMP fell 0.42% to 2.38 and is right near the bottom of its recent range. And Mortgage Choice, the mortgage aggregator, fell 3.88% to 99 cents. And that is way, way down from where it's been until recently. They are clearly struggling in the current environment. And Genworth, the mortgage lender insurer, also fell down 1.39% to 2.13, partly, of course, because they're exposed to the mortgage industry directly, and also because they have investments which are also performing badly now, simply because the markets are dragging lower. And just to round out the picture, the Australian dollar, US dollar, slid 0.01% to 71.07 and is looking as though it will continue to drift lower ahead. So this is all reflecting considerable uncertainty and risk in our local market, but of course it's being very much infected by concerns, particularly from the US, but also the other markets too. And here's the thing, we are going to wrestle, I think, with both local and international uncertainty over the next few weeks, because really now we're not going to get any more economic news until well into the new year. And so the question becomes, how close to the cliff are we? And how far and how fast will the local markets fall? And frankly, in that context, APRA's announcement yesterday about removing the 30% interest-only cap and RBA's lobbying of the banks to lend more seem to pale into deep insignificance. So I continue to hold to my thesis that we are in for a very rocky road ahead. If you found this post useful, please do like it, please share it, and add a comment or question. I read them all. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again next time.